I'll go ahead and get started while Jonathan is setting the slides. I probably will be a little more note reliant than I normally am. I'd like to present Patricia's presentation. She spent a lot of time working on it. It's certainly her work, so I may be just a touch more reliant on my notes. So our trustees have spent quite a bit of time on this vision statement, and recently, over the past few months, they have worked very hard at developing core values. And at the heart of every one of their decisions that they make, they are centering and thinking about what's best for kids. Not just all kids, but individual kids. And then from there, they value balance and fairness and equity. Every decision is focused on reaching and for our students to reach high and challenging standards. We value resilience and grit and perseverance, and we model that as staff, as trustees, all of our teachers, and anybody that's employed in our district. And we also value trust and respect. And I think those are important pieces that also fall in line with Mayor Flitner's comments earlier this morning. We are developing a close community of learners, of students that we want to stay in our community and contribute in our community in a very healthy way. And our families also learn from what our children are learning in the classroom. So our children are going home and talking to their families about what they learn in school every day. And these are our core values that we hope our children are going home with, because we know this is what creates a whole person that's capable and viable to contribute in our society, our workforce, and our community. So the areas that are crucial for you to know: we're pleased to have a growing school population, and we're pleased to be in a position to proactively plan for the future. Our current facilities do not accommodate the number of children that we have enrolled in our classes in our schools today. Further, our students are negatively impacted by food insecurity and also inadequate housing. And I think that sometimes is a shock to people in a community like ours. People find that to be surprising. We're also very much focused on college and career and military preparation. It's essential to our student futures. It's also in line with our state superintendent, Gillian, focus that we prepare students for not just graduation from high school, but what comes next. And generally in school districts, we focus on what we have control on. We focus on what we can do every single day to help our students graduate. And typically as administrators, we don't focus too much on what happens after that. We figure they're out the door, what comes next is up to them. And that's a shift for us. We are really focusing on the work that we do every single day has to be meaningful, it has to be relevant, it has to be rigorous, so that all doors for our kids are open every single day, because kids are mercurial. They're going to change their mind. So we want to prepare them for what their future could bring, and it could be bringing anything. So that's an important focus for us. These are basic needs. We're building that foundation for a bright future and preparing all kids for those opportunities that they don't even know exist yet. So our biggest challenge: we have currently over 400 children that are being served in temporary modular buildings or in overcrowded classrooms. As you can see on this slide, and maybe you can't see it all that well, but the orange is the school capacity. The blue column is the total school enrollment in those buildings. So what you can see on these slides that are in town and our Wilson schools, elementary schools, are over capacity by 126%. Our outlying schools have capacity, but sending a child who lives south of town to Alta or Kelly or Moran is impractical, and it's counter to our community's desire for neighborhood schools and our vision for minimizing our footprint on the ecosystem. I'd also like to note that if our projections from the capacity study come to fruition, our middle school will be over capacity by 2020. It's also important to know that as we move forward with the phased capacity remedy, we will complete the new elementary school in the Hog Island area, and when that opens in the fall of 2018, the first day of school, we will already be at roughly 82% enrollment, which is an optimal number for the state considers an optimal number for our facility efficiency. The capacity study and the resulting projections are responsible planning efforts. If we wait in the next 2 to 3 years and those projections come to fruition, it will be too late for us to do anything about it. Our board's priority is to remove the modulars from the Jackson Elementary School and Coulter Elementary School, but we know that it takes 3 to 4 years, and really closer to 4 years, from start to finish, meaning finding land and then opening a school building. If we wait to see if the projections come in, it'll be too late for us to be proactive and plan, and we'll continue to be adding modulars to our buildings as opposed to removing them. We also know that it takes 2 to 3 years to add additions to buildings. That is an option for us down the road if our capacity issues and our enrollment come to fruition. That could be a part of phase 2, is to add on to buildings, but it takes 2 to 3 years just to add an addition. It also increases traffic concerns, and we know that those are issues that our community has been pretty clear on. They don't want to increase the traffic patterns around our schools. It also pushes our elementary schools to well over 600, and that's a number that we feel is pretty large, and still call it a neighborhood school. So our biggest challenge, this may come as a surprise, but 24% of our students are on free or reduced lunch support. There are numerous studies that show that proper nutrition obviously is vital to a student's ability to learn and succeed in school. It also is vital to their reduction of stress, and stress is a big part of children's every single day environment. And that's, I think, a change from when we were younger. I don't recall feeling stressed, except for when there was the math computation test and I had to do it in less than a minute. I do remember that. But there are numerous studies that talk about how important nutrition is to the reduction of stress and success for students. To that end, Teton County School District participates in the National School Lunch Program, and we provide free or reduced breakfast or lunch to students, 660 students to be exact. This number, I think, is shocking, and I really want you to focus on it. In order to qualify for free lunch and breakfast, a family has to demonstrate that their annual earnings place them at 130% of the federal poverty line, which equates to an annual salary of $31,525 for a family of 4. By the time you take into consideration rent, getting transportation to and from your job, food, and all the medical necessities, you are left at a deficit every single month with that kind of income. By comparison, to qualify for reduced breakfast or lunch and lunch, a family has to be at 185% of the federal poverty line, which equates to roughly $45,000 for a family of 4. So you may have seen a story in the Jackson Hole News and Guide just before Christmas and also around Thanksgiving. We've collected food for families. We have community partners, which we greatly value, that provide snacks and meals for children over the weekend. We had a community dinner over the Thanksgiving break. We need to continue these efforts. This is a huge issue, and it's also a very humbling issue. Our families and our children don't want us to know that they're struggling. They have a hard time asking for help. It's humiliating. It's challenging. They have a lot of pride, and we need to honor that and provide graceful ways of providing support and valuing the contribution they make to our community and also to our schools. So again, on a big challenge, another thing that I think would shock people, we have 28 children currently that we know of that are homeless. And one homeless child is way too many, but 28 is a lot. That number does not include those living in a house shared with multiple families and taking turns or sleeping shifts because there are not enough beds. Our kids can't learn if they don't have a place to eat, and they don't have a place to live, and they don't have an appropriate place to sleep, study, and be prepared for the next day of learning. This community has a lot of resources, and we need to partner together to make sure that all of our children have that basic need met. So our greatest opportunity The Board of Trustees is working currently to address our capacity issues by moving forward with the construction of the new elementary school south of town. This will accommodate the students that, again, today are sitting in overcrowded classrooms or in modular buildings. We will continue focusing on our vision to prepare all children to be successful in an ever-changing world and proactively planning for the future while taking reasonable and responsible steps to be prepared for whatever comes our way. So what can we do as a community to support these efforts? The community support in Teton County is just incredible, and that was one of the first things I noted when I was even interested in this position and interested in moving here. In these tight fiscal times, it's essential that our efforts be combined, that we collaborate with one another, that we continue to advocate for funding for education, for funding for our families, for housing, to meet these basic needs that all of us have. We need to continue to thank our elected officials. It is a tough job. It's a tough job even in a great fiscal year. It's a very challenging position. So we thank our public officials. I personally thank our trustees who are volunteers that work countless hours every single week. But our local and our state and our national representatives it's just an incredible commitment. And I appreciate all the work that people do go into and consider that our community needs this kind of support and collaboration. So the community can continue to help us address these challenges and opportunities by continuing to partner with us and with our families to create optimal conditions for success. We're grateful to every single one of you for the support that you have already provided to our school district and to our community. Your interest in being here, it's a sold out room, is just incredible that people care so much about this community. So I thank you for that, and I thank you for the continued support and the input that you have provided not only to me personally, but to our trustees so that we can provide the best education for our children and our school district. Thank you.